All right, everybody. Want to welcome Chuck Schuba to the HB podcast. Welcome, Chuck.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Super excited to have Chuck. Chuck and I go way back, back to our high school days. Even Chuck was a legend at Kalkaska High School, also an All-American at Aquinas. Even though I say Siena Heights all the time, I don't know why. I like I like Siena Heights better. It seems to be a better
That's where
school. Maybe it's a better school.
that's where my wife went. So maybe you're thinking about my wife. I don't
Oh,
know.
Peg. Yeah, maybe we should have Peg on the podcast too.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, why don't you just introduce yourself and excited to have you on the show. Also have you a part of HB Elite, our first travel program that's getting going this year, trying to help Northern Michigan kids develop and compete at a higher level. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Well, like Trevor said, Chuck Schuba, originally from Flint, born in
Fluff, fluff, fluff,
Flint.
fluff, Flint Town. You know that song,
Part
man.
I'm part Flintstone. That's my claim to fame is, my wife, she's like, "You're not from Flint." Yes, I am. Um, so born in Flint, raised in Flint until about I was 8. And then my family always came up to the south end of Torch Lake in the summertime because my grandparents were living there at the time. So we kind of moved up to that area and just kind of started falling in love with basketball because of just some of the people I got to meet while vacationing in that area. So my phys ed teacher, Mr. Dalton, who was a successful high school coach for girls at Kalkaska. His daughter Lee played at Bowling Green and at Northern Michigan University. Now is one of the top coaches in the state of Michigan at Saline High School for girls. So we kind of got introduced to basketball through him, just through him coaching and teaching and those types of things like that. And went to Kalkaska High School, had a pretty good high school career there. Obviously, never made it out of districts.
Why was
Um,
that?
well, we
Who did you
usually,
guys have to play? Like, I can't imagine there was any good teams in the '90s in your
um,
district.
well, it was never Petoskey. So,
Lucky it wasn't. It would have.
yeah. So we were Class B at that time. So we always played Manistee, Ludington, Reed City, etc. So we usually ran into Ludington, and that's at the time where they had Linus Thelman,
Oh God,
Chad
yeah. They had a
Holmes.
big guy.
Yeah, they had Holmes. He went to Davidson. He was 6'10". So yeah, we always usually got to district finals and usually lost to Ludington the last my junior and senior year. It was to Ludington. Um,
But
but
Boyne City wasn't in Class B, or what were
no,
they?
Boyne City was, I believe,
Class
C at
C.
the time. So
Yeah.
that's when Rosicki played against Hiller and them. So
Oh,
that's
that.
when.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the time, in that late '90s, I mean, C and B were pretty tough in Northern Michigan. Where more recently, you know, not to be biased or anything, but B seems to be kind of the easier way for Northern Michigan teams to get to the quarterfinals. Cadillac's had a good run. You look over the years past, Cadillac and Ludington had kind of been, and Boyne City as well, have made some runs to at least the quarterfinals until we get into Grand Rapids Catholic Central, those types of things like that. So, um, so yeah, and then after that, I went to Aquinas College and fought and scrapped my way into having a pretty good career there, and was able to be All American and score over 1,000 and be all conference by my senior year, and obviously played behind some good players early on, so I didn't get the full opportunity, but I got to learn a lot and learn about dedication, working hard, doing more, working on myself to prove myself, to the coaches and those types of things like that. I had to
Did
sell
you think
myself
coming
more.
down? Do you think when you came down from Northern Michigan, you kind of had this label that you had to even though you were a great basketball player in Northern Michigan, you still had to come down there and prove more than you maybe another player from downstate would have.
Yeah, I agree to that. You know, because obviously, you know, when you get down there, like, you know, like, where are you from? You know, and you know, those types of things like that. But even just, you know, even kind of there was some Northern Michigan players that were there that even were older than me. You know, Shane Hinkle and those guys. You
Yeah,
know, and that was, you know, you know, having them there helped a little bit. But even, you know, even you had to prove yourself to them too, because oh,
yeah,
like, oh, you played at Kalkaska, really? Like, come on, you know, type of thing, you know. So
yeah,
I had that chip on my shoulder, you know, because I went down there, you know, like with, got a scholarship, those types of things, but you know, I went down there as a JV player.
yeah.
You know, that's what one of the things I liked about, you know, going there was, you know, Coach Elbro was honest. He kind of told me where I was at, and I knew I was better than that, but there's, you know, some other situations that were out of my control, so I had to control what I could control, and that was I was in the gym every day. He saw me every day in the gym. I was lifting, you know, just working on my game as he walked through the field house on a daily basis and saw, you know, then by game 5, you know, my freshman year, I started, you know, my 6th game on varsity, you know, so I don't know if that was, I was hoping, you know, that was a benefit or a reward of my hard work, or if he was trying to prove a point. I don't know. But after that, it kind of, you know, got me in the position to play and stay, you know, and obviously and have a good career. So
What what do you think? What do you think kind of separated you from the other guys that, I know, I mean, personally, going down to Kent State, similar thing, I had to prove myself. Like, where are you from? You're from Northern Michigan, you kind of get labeled as that soft, not competitive, not athletic, undersized, or, just all the things that you get labeled as in any profession or craft as you rise up the level of competition. What do you think like really separated you from those other guards? And was it just you being a gym rat, or was it something that was it a mix of your intangible qualities, your toughness, your mindset, along with like what skills you actually had? Because obviously you had to be able to play.
right, yeah, I think just, you know, obviously having that extra motivation of that chip, but um,
But what was that like? Talk about that chip, because I think everybody in sports, oh yeah, play with your chip on your shoulder. But what does that actually mean to you?
for me, it was just I was, you know, I was um, I guess it was just me knowing that I wasn't given an opportunity that I felt I deserved. So that chip for me was that fuel to in practice, you know, prove that I was better than the guys that were ahead of me. You know, doing all the little things, the extra work. You know, I was that, you know, energy guy. You know, I had a high IQ, you know, so I saw the game, understood the game. So that chip for me was just, you know, proving every day, day in and day out that I belonged just because of, you know, where I may have came from, you know, in high school, my skill, you know, the way I understand the game, play the game, see the game is better or just as good as, you know, the players that you're, you know, saying that are better than me,
Mhm.
you know. So it kind of just it bothered me, you know, and then, you know, just being treated a little bit differently because of that too obviously fueled, you know, me to just prove people wrong, you know, and I wasn't gonna, you know, take no for an answer. You know, I was just gonna keep working until they had to play me, you know, or had to have me there because I was just gonna keep coming, keep doing everything that I
Mhm.
could do in my power to give myself an opportunity.
And in terms of skill work, I always look back and reflect on my, high school career coming up in Northern Michigan. You think Yo, like I'm the cream of the crop up here, as my dad likes to say. You're the cream of the crap, and I'm like, but I did think even in high school, I never felt like I was the best player, even on the teams I was on. So I always kind of had that similar mindset of like, I got to develop this. I got to work on this skill. My shot is needs to come a long way. What were some of the things that you felt like, oh, this is really what I got to develop as a guard? And coming from Northern Michigan, you were lacking in terms of coming to the college game in terms of skill development.
Yeah, and skill development has changed so much from when we were there. Like I was just, at a Gus Macker this weekend and was talking with Brett Quayle.
Oh yeah,
Our his boy was
shout out
that's
to
who we,
Q.
yeah, his boy was that's who we lost to in our last game, and we were just talking about just all the different things that how different they are. I was 138 pounds when I graduated, 6'1", just not physically developed, never really lifted weights, until I got to college is where I really, I was young. I mean, I could have stayed back a year, so I was a late bloomer,
Mm-hmm.
so I was undersized, so I had to, work on that, especially the weight room and stuff like that. I wasn't overly skilled with the ball. I was pretty athletic. I could guard, I was fast. I shot it pretty well, so I had to, work on, I moved really well without the ball. I was kind of like, everyone hated guarding me in practice because I was always just moving and screening and just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
your old school Rip Hamilton type, Ray Allen type, players, so for me, it was just, getting stronger, and continuing to better my IQ to get open. I didn't have to handle the ball as much. I wish I, worked on that part of
Mm-hmm.
my game more, just to be a little bit more dynamic and maybe be more of a 3-level scorer. I
Yeah.
was more of a catch and shoot. Sets were ran for me to come off and just catch and shoot. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really have to create a lot, which, I wish, now obviously how the game's evolved, that, being a 3-level scorer goes a long way. So I lacked in that area for sure, so um, that was one thing I regret not working on was more of the
Yeah.
skill development with the ball, and not just focusing on, just catching and shooting and those types
But
of
there's
things.
there's like a to me there's a certain beauty to the way that style of play, moving without the ball, screen the screener, set a back screen, pop out, get a shot for yourself by making someone else, helping somebody else get open. That's kind of that, the Hoosiers type basketball, where it's ball movement and that's really kind of died out. Now we have this 4 out, 5 out, dribble, 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 dribble. Kids run instead of running the fast break, they're running to the 3 point line at, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, and they can't even, barely get the ball there. So, I mean, there's a part of me that kind of misses the old days where, if you, me, and John Flynn and Luke Johnson all showed up from Northern Michigan and we played 5-on-5, we could kind of fit together, because we knew how to play. And
Right.
now it's like, you see kids play and they haven't necessarily learned how to play these different styles, like you're saying, you wish you could have worked on that 3-level scoring and been more creative, maybe with the ball in your hand or something like that. But that's also not the era and how we played.
Right.
My little brother was the same way. He didn't really develop his point guard, that creativity with the ball, until later in his career. But do you feel like that's something that's missing in today's game with the youth? Talk about
Yeah. I
youth
mean,
development, what how you focus with developing your own kid, your own son, and the kids in that era, in that age.
yeah, I mean, it's obviously a lost skill, a lost art. Obviously now that the game's evolved into like a positionless basketball, it's ISO dominant. It's just, one-on-one type, play, which then you got other guys just standing and watching. So even through our youth program, the youth teams I coach, you know, we promote movement, passing, cutting, not standing and watching, whether, you're cutting to the basket, you're screening to get somebody else open. Just because if you can learn that at a young age, like you said, you should be able to adapt and fit into any system as you grow older to play in, because realistically, most of those systems require spacing, ball movement, and then you tweak it to the skilled players that you have. Obviously, if you're running dribble drive, obviously you need spacing, you need guys that can be able to catch and shoot it, but you also need the guys that can attack downhill and get other people's open. You're going more of a Princeton type offense. Now you're working about IQ, basket cuts, back cuts, hitting the high post, jet cutting off, dribble handoff type stuff. So I think the more you learn, to play without the ball, to move, understand spacing, doing more with less, then you're a more adaptive player to be able to fit into different systems, and and it showed kind of this weekend watching, my son play predominantly probably seventh graders because of his age group, and they were younger for their bracket, but they were beating teams because of that type of play. They weren't great shooters. They didn't have hardly any size, but they moved, they cut, they drove, they back cut, because everyone was then obviously look at the ball. So they were slashing and getting layups, and they were beating teams probably that were bigger, probably more skilled, but we were playing better together, and then we obviously lose to a team of seventh graders, but all white kids from Clarkston, pretty skilled, drive, kick, drive, kick, drive, kick. And, they hit 6.2s, which as seventh graders, the strength and those things are a little bit easier for them than fifth and sixth graders, but that style, like Brett and I were talking about, about just that play in those types of tournaments, those types of things are more successful because it's harder to guard. You're nonstop moving. You're going to find somebody that's ball watching. Now you're going to back cut out of it. And if you have high IQ players that understand that, you're going to make, you're going to get a lot of easy baskets because of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I love small sided, as my younger brother's gotten into 3-on-3, you can see each possession is under a magnifying glass. Each read is easier to make, if you see the read, it's there because there's not five other people, who aren't in the wrong spot logging up, or, so it's a great tool, for kids to develop. I mean, that's what I lived on as a kid, Gus Mackers and 3-on-3 tournaments, and playing with my teammates in my grade, in my school. We developed a chemistry, that chemistry is really just understanding each other, how to move, how to cut, when to screen, how to win. Learning how to win is something that I think really is it's a lost art in itself, because what does it take to beat a team that's more athletic than you, taller than you, more skilled than you? Well, you tell me. Like it's going to be a different puzzle for each team you play, and I think that's what makes basketball fun. If you have an adaptive kid who can figure out that puzzle on the fly, and doesn't need a play, just can read the game and make his teammate or make the right play every time, then you're gonna give yourself the best chance to win. And I think that's what I'm striving for with HB, and teaching kids as as you get older and older, you want to have that foundation built early, not late.
Right.
But did you once you became an All-American, did you feel like you lost that chip as you got older, or do you feel like even as a senior you still had it?
No,
how did you handle success, basically, is the question.
It's I think I've always hoped to come across as a humble person about things like that. I would always try to downplay things and whatever else, because I know to my success there's more than just me. so I don't want to take all the credit for it and those types of things, but I wish, there was still some fuel because, it was at that point for us, in college, it was like we had a pretty good team that year, but we were only a one bid conference and those types of things
Mhm.
like that. And, it was just, at that time in our league, it was, kind of Siena Heights and Cornerstone dominant, and they kind of got all the love all the time. So it was, it was a lot of that, lot of chip, and that fuel was still to just, you know, kind of just, you know, to let people know that we were pretty good as well, and it wasn't just those two teams. So it was, that group that we had, we all came in together as obviously as freshmen, and we ended up having a handful of guys, score over 1,000 points and a couple other All-Americans, so, we kind of made a point to be like, we're just as good as well. We deserve the respect as well, and it was, just trying to earn that and get that from, especially a lot of the teams that we played, just because I think early on it was, we're kind of like a doorstep for a lot of people, and
Just
we
what you
all
have
came.
Grand Valley, you have Calvin, you have Hope, you have all these really good.
Yeah, we're surrounded by a lot of these, dominant, historical, programs, and we were kind of like considered like the outcast, of that corridor of small college basketball right there, and it was just, when we would play those teams, we were kind of like, you know, the thugs or
Yeah,
whatever it was of that area, it weren't as, the school might not be as prestigious, and
you didn't have the tradition, you didn't have all
right,
the.
not the tradition, and all those types of things like that. Obviously, our makeup of our team was different. We were multiracial, where
Yeah,
the other ones
you had a
weren't.
diverse, you had a
We
diverse.
have, yeah,
Yeah, you guys had
diverse
a.
team, and just all different backgrounds, where our coach was that guy that was more about, finding kids that, he could help get off the street, those types of things, and he got burned a lot on that too, but that was a thing of his was,
Well,
he wanted
he
to help.
got you off those Kalkaska
That's right.
streets. You know what I
Got me off the
mean?
streets of Rapid City.
He's walking around there with some cowboy boots and some tight jean shorts. I could see you now, just
Yeah, cut off
rattling,
flannel. Yeah.
throwing things at people. I don't know what you do over there in Rapid. What is it? Rapid City, Alden?
Yeah, you drive through it, don't you?
I don't like to.
No. Not after dark, right?
Yeah, no, there's little Chucks running around there just egging cars and stuff. What are you
Yeah,
kids doing out there? I mean, there
that's
wasn't a whole
right.
lot to do back when when you were when we were kids, like what could you do? We had to play basketball. Now you got video. Like,
Yeah.
do you think it's harder for the modern day kid versus when we were kids?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there wasn't as many distractions. Obviously, as a parent, I'm seeing it now.
Yeah.
With having a 11-year-old and a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, just all the different things. When they come home for school, what they want to do, and where I think when you and I were that age, it was like summertime. I was gone from sun up to sundown. I mean, it was like be home when the streetlights come on type of thing,
Yeah.
and had a freaking headlight on my bike, just so I could get home, and
Oh,
those
there's
types of
Chuck
things.
again. You just
Yeah,
see
and
Chuck run.
the faster I pedal, the brighter it gets. I had to slow her
Oh
down
my gosh, this is like
coming through
Stranger
Rapid City.
Things.
I was brighting people, so I was getting flashed, just
I
to
mean,
get home just to
that's
get
so
home
funny.
in time so I didn't get in trouble, but yeah, we had to be creative. We were at the ballpark all the time. We were, doing games. I was luckily enough to, when we moved up here, to be surrounded by, cousins that were all the same age,
Mm,
so we were able to all live close by. So we were able to do things, where I look back because Trav and I are 11 years apart. Like he had
Trav,
no
your
one,
brother.
yeah, he had no one in our neighborhood to
Yeah.
do anything with, where, it was hard for him, so he had to get, motivated differently, to do things,
What are you doing
you
with your
know.
kids though? Let's talk about this because I'm kidless, but I coach a lot of kids. You can see the attention spans diminishing, the ability to focus diminishing, that over time, I've been coaching camps and kids for 15 years, and the way to connect and relate to kids, it's so different. What are you doing with what's been working kind of within, with your kids when it comes to sports development and being stop pulling the dopamine slot machine of technology and video games and all that easy stuff that we can get distracted with.
Yeah, I mean, it's my kids, they probably think they have it hard, obviously, when
You
we
make
get
them
into
wear
the
potato skin shoes to
where
school.
we get into the athletic part of it all, just because, I was pretty successful. Their mom played 2 college sports, and we're just, we're wired differently,
A
and we
little
coach them.
you discipline them. I mean,
Yeah,
you have a little
of
bit more
course.
structure. Like you come
Yeah, we
home,
have.
you get 100 shots up, or like is it do your work first?
Yeah, I mean, lots of structure. Obviously, we're both educators. They just got home a half hour ago, and they're sitting down doing their homework, getting their homework done. Because then they go to practices and stuff like that. We minimize their screen time. They get it a little bit before they go to bed. And stuff like that. On the weekends, it's in the morning a little bit, but then they're outside doing stuff, or we go places. You know, there's got to be a little happy medium.
Yeah.
They are kids. But you also got to know when to push and when to pull back a little bit, because I would want them at the gym every day. And but I
Yeah.
just I don't want excuses from them, because they have all the opportunities in the world. I have a key to pretty much every gym in my area here, and I want them to show, especially as they get a little bit older, that willingness to want to go there on their own. And and I shouldn't be the one, hey, let's go to the gym type of thing, because they're at that age now where, like you talk about at your camps and stuff, is being different, creating a plan, how you're going to separate yourself, those types of things, and I'm honest with them. I go, there's other kids out there doing it right now. You're not. So I don't want to hear any excuses about when you play that person and you lose, or you have a bad game or whatever, because the only person you can look at is yourself in the mirror. What did you do up until this point to prepare yourself to be successful? I battle that with my 9-year-old daughter. She wants to be good. She wants to be kind of where her brother is, but she doesn't want to do all the stuff in between to get there. She just thinks it's going to just, osmosis, and just happen, and, whatever. So,
How do you develop the love of the game with kids? I mean, that's a question I think that's what we're talking about right now. Is it one of those things that like you're saying, is it just honest conversations you can have and say, hey, listen, you want to be the you want to it's fun to win, we all want to win, but that's not how it works. There's
right,
people out there that are sacrificing their time and energy and putting huge amounts of effort into becoming the best basketball player they can be. Let's just start, like you're kind of saying, let's start with that. Are we doing that? Are we trying to be the best we can be at the sport we love? And if that's not the case, then having the honest conversation. But beyond that, how do you kind of develop, like when I was a kid, I used to watch NBA superstars, that video with like Larry Bird.
yep,
I was born in a small town.
right,
And you just I'd watch this NBA superstars over and over and over. And it felt like that, like passion for basketball was really coming from within me. But
right,
I also had the guidance from my dad and from my coaches, also my friend group. we all played all the time, and now it's like kids are isolated. They don't have other neighborhood friends that want to play 3-on-3 all day long, or like, how do you develop that love from within, or how do you let that love kind of grow from within?
um, I think I mean just personally with our own kids, um, we're both pretty active individuals, so we're around the game a lot. We're around a lot of athletics a
Hmm.
lot. Um, we want them to try multiple things. We don't want them just to be just a basketball player or whatever, and
Yeah.
I think my son would just play basketball and only it, but I don't think that helps him developmentally,
Yeah.
for the sport that he really loves. So it's getting him to, because he's a good, he's a good, very good baseball player, and he played football and stuff like that. So I go, you don't always have to be the best at those other sports, but you can also improve in a lot of areas to help the sport that you love. And you're also with all your buddies and your friends, and, you know, where they go to school, they're always pretty successful, and that success is contagious, and it just leads to, a lot of, winning, and, that's great and all, but they have to understand that winning isn't always happening either. So Dominic's surrounded by a pretty good group of sixth graders. They're I've coached them since kindergarten, so I coach them differently. And they know that they know that they're going to get coached, and people probably look at me and like say that style isn't how you should coach youth basketball, or youth kids, but we've been pretty successful with it, and they've grown from it, and that's hopefully they're learning life lessons through it. They're learning to love the game. You got to make it fun too. Winning is obviously fun, but um, I think through some of the winning, that helps the love grow. We try to do different things. Like I have them play at all the half times of our home games. So
Mm.
now they're in that gym with the stands are
Smelling
packed.
that popcorn. Yeah.
Right, but they're playing in front of large crowds, and they've been doing it since they've been in third grade. So it's just that's what keeps kids engaged, keeps kids wanting to get better. I just did 5 Saturdays of kindergarten through eighth grade. I had 120 something kids in the gym, and it's just stuff like that. It's just trying to provide them as many opportunities as possible, that they can improve their skills, hopefully grow that love of the game, make it fun,
For
and,
sure.
you
I
know,
love, I do like the multiple sport development. I don't think a kid can go backwards in time and develop athletic qualities that they pick up from playing football or baseball or soccer, all the sports that you can play growing up. To specialize a kid really early on, I'm not a huge fan of, just because I feel like I learned so much from other sports, how to move my body differently, how to see the field. I played soccer, so it helped me. Um, in terms of my fitness levels were completely different. I had my hips, my way I could move my feet, my footwork improved. So all those intangibles that we learn in other sports. If you're a parent out there who's like, oh, I want my kid to be the best basketball player, do you want your kid to be the best basketball player in sixth grade, or do you want your kid to have success and be ready, to make that jump when it really matters when they're in 12th grade? Because if that's the case, developing them early and often with other sports is kind of, I think, a surefire approach to learn athletic qualities, intangible qualities, physical qualities, vision, and just playing a different sport. It's good for your body. Like, how many kids do you see now that are like specialized in basketball and they get hurt because all they do is the same movement patterns over and over and over, And then by the
Yeah.
time they're 12th grade, 11th grade, they're just like stress fractures and stress induced injuries and these things. You see that?
Yeah. Yeah. I totally, yeah. And where, kind of where, I coach varsity basketball at, it's predominantly a football school, and it's trying to get some of those kids to understand that if you look back at a lot of good football players, they were either really good wrestlers or they were pretty good basketball players as well. And as you know, with playing with Antonio Gates,
Right.
right, he was a basketball player that turned into a pretty good football player. So we actually, have a kind of a kid in our program that his mom was a Division I basketball player, and he's not going to probably play basketball because he wants to focus on football, and it's trying to have that conversation with him that, hey, I've coached a lot of good football players that played basketball. Jake Fisher went to Oregon, played in the NFL. You know, Theo Lacusa, went to
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, Michigan State for football. You know,
And there's nothing
uh,
better for football players than actually playing basketball. What are we talking about? Like, I
right,
want to let me text this kid. I feel like, I mean, Antonio Gates purely was the best tight end, one of the best tight ends to ever play because of basketball.
right,
Because if you can cut and catch and pass and rebound and do all these
right,
things in real time, you're and you're an athlete, like you're improving all these attributes of athleticism that only a football player will never. If you only have to run a route every single time, what do you mean? Like you're
right.
getting so many more reps,
Well,
of like
and it, and
athletic
it,
being an athlete.
and it proves that now because when you see these guys not get drafted for the NBA, football people are calling them for
Oh,
tryouts to be linemen, D
yeah,
ends, and tight ends
it's
for
crazy.
football.
We had a guy in our
So
Belgian when I played in Belgium. He was like a 10 point, 8 rebound power forward in Leuven, which was like a lower team in that league, but they were competitive. One year I see him, the next year I turn on, like we're watching NFL on Thanksgiving, and I'm like, is that's him? He plays for the Arizona Cardinals. Can't even
yeah,
remember his name, but he was like the next year he's playing for the Cardinals. I was like, that's
yeah,
insane. Like, what can I can't do that as a 6'1" speed
no,
position, but he's bigger, stronger, power forward type guys that can play tight end or really
yeah.
move their body in unique ways. It's
You
pretty
you
interesting.
and I are
We're screwed. We're not.
we're
It's not looking
screwed,
good for
and we're
us.
going,
Kicker.
professional pickleballers.
That's true. Speaking of pickleball, I challenge anybody in Northern Michigan to a one-on-one match.
Come
Uh,
on,
$5 a game, maybe even more. I feel like I'm feeling really confident down here in Raleigh right now, Chuck. I entered a pro tournament, doubles, and I did not score a point for 3 games, but it was doubles.
yeah.
And I should not have been in that pro tournament. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was outmatched. There's
So
nothing
you
worse than
you
getting
you weren't a good
outdinked.
partner then.
No, I was. Yeah, that's for sure. I'm a much better singles player than I am doubles. The technical side of pickleball is to the point now where if you play in a pro level game, you literally can't mess up on your dink game ever. And I am still at that. I still mess up a lot on my dinks. Um, but singles, you can get away with a little bit less dink and a little bit more movement. And I'm a unique athlete, Chuck.
Right? Yes.
So all you
That would be.
all 7 of our listeners out there, come, let's go. We're
Yeah.
meeting
Let's
Alden.
let's let's set it up.
Do you play pickleball? I mean, are you?
I mean, obviously being a phys ed teacher, I play it,
Yeah,
in class and stuff. Last summer, um, Adam Kerfoot, my
Mm-hmm.
brother and I went down to the pickleball courts and kind of did a little round robin tournament and stuff. So
Just
it's
singles
pretty.
or
Yeah, just singles, pretty good. It was pretty good competition. Obviously, 3 college athletes going after it. So it
yeah,
was. It was
Zachary Kerfoot, he whooped me in a sprint triathlon. My first sprint triathlon. I saw him, I think he was I mean, that dude was in amazing shape. Endurance sports are not for me, but pickleball
Yeah,
is.
sure. You just stay in the kitchen.
Just stay up, stay aggressive, like it's kind of like basketball. But I feel like if you're playing singles, you got to stay aggressive, get to that net, keep him back and deep to their backhand and let the chips fall where they may.
All right.
You know
Right.
who else is really good at pickleball? RJ Taylor. RJ was at Grand Blanc, the won a state championship there, Class A. Whenever I was down there working with RJ, we'd go play pickleball, and I'm not kidding. Just he beat me 3-2, and I'm still pissed about it because I had him down 2-1. He's
Well,
just
he could
he's
probably he can
competitive.
get
Yeah, a little slower.
he can get to balls probably, and
Yeah, I couldn't keep the body amped where it needed to be. You got to be in that full flow state. Like at the game 5, you got to be in shape. You can't be breathing hard. I was breathing hard,
uh,
way too hard. Just
stamina.
not
You got to have stamina.
no stamina in this guy. None. Absolutely. So, well, Chuck, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now
Yeah.
in TC. Tell us about how HB Elite's going. Tell just how do people check in with you and get some training? All those things. Swish
Yeah, I
House,
mean, I got every day of the week, I got something that seems like,
the
so I,
busiest man in the world. He's got a
yeah,
car service. He'll pick you up in a limo. What do you need?
yeah. So I got a little, transportation company. If anyone has any wine tour needs or group outings, bachelorette parties,
Shout out to JJ, right?
JJ's just one more. Yep. So we'll run SUV service through the winter months. So we just put the Mercedes bus up for the winter. No, I got coaching fourth grade girls right now, kind of assistant coaching with my wife. So we got our first game on Tuesday. I got coach sixth grade boys, regular school team at Immaculate Conception. That's where we run our practices. And then I have a sixth grade HB Elite team, predominantly IC kids with a couple Petoskey kids. So that's coming together really well. We got our first tournament November 19th. So just fine tuning some things there. It's kind of nice because 9 of the kids that travel with me are also on my school team. So I can use the practices during the week to kind of fine tune, and then we can add a little bit more advanced stuff when our other guys get there and stuff like that. I got Swish House and Swish Academy going. So we run high school adult open gyms at least 3 days a week. And I do some group trainings, individual trainings, through Swish Academy. So I have apps on Halo for that. So that's going pretty well. Just got to find time to do everything. Varsity
Yeah.
basketball, also varsity assistant coach at Traverse City St. Francis. We start that on Monday as well. So we're looking to hopefully get back to the Breslin after a nice state run last year. So
Yeah, you guys had a great season.
get that
Congrats.
kicked off with a week of practice, and we go. Cadillac comes into town for a scrimmage, and we go up to Petoskey for a scrimmage, and then
Awesome.
we're heading down to Grand Rapids for the big showcase scrimmage down there right before Thanksgiving. And then we start the first week of December at Ludington. So a good road test for us right off the start.
Fantastic.
So
And how do people find you, Chuck? Is it I know the Halo app, but I can
yeah,
link everything. Your
yeah,
Instagram.
it's Instagram. You got my email is Schuba at swishhouse.com. I don't even know what my Instagram handle is. Scooby, I think Scooby2244, I believe. So
I know that your profile picture hasn't changed in over 10, 15 years. It's unbelievable.
yeah, I don't have time for that. I'm doing other stuff.
That's right.
So
That's
but
right.
yeah, so I do, I got a love for youth development. I run a lot of, our youth camps, help out with some HB camps when they come about as well.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you staying involved and helping the kids and doing what you do up there. You know, that's all. I always love coming up to Traverse and seeing Chuck and his flip flops. You know, it's nothing.
Right.
There's no, you know, it's basketball and flip flops are synonymous.
That's right.
On 10th. What is that? Union Street.
Union Street.
Union and 10th.
Union and 10th.
You know, that's where all the magic happens in Traverse City. So we appreciate you coming on, Chuck, sharing your time. Say hello to Peg and Santa Heights.
I will.
Let's
Thanks
go.
for having me.
Yeah, man. And I'll see you in December, and I'll let you know when we share this to all our business sponsors, Miners North Jewelers, especially. This is Miners North. This is Jeff Gunsfillers, and
Johnny.
We're gonna let them sponsor this one. So
Yeah.
check out minersnorth.com if you want some jewelry done.
Some of the finest jewelry in town.
That's right. I also, Jeff, I heard, is a pickleball player, so maybe when we get back we can dabble.
I mean,
he's a better athlete than me.
Jeff's yeah, he's a great athlete. I mean, he doesn't pick up the round ball very much, but he's when he comes and plays, he's still got some skills. He still moves well. He was a Division I soccer player.
Yeah, you don't want to have that footwork anywhere near you on defense. Like he's probably.
Oh yeah, he still does pretty well for, you know, the limited time he plays, but
yeah,
try to get him to play more. But you know, when you have four boys under 10, you know, it's kind of hard.
It's impossible. It's impossible. But he does do. I do know that he's mentioned pickleball, so we appreciate our business sponsors. You know, check them out at hbelitetraining.com. What is that? Hash that little diagonal, and then sponsor
backslash
sponsors. And you can check out all our business sponsors, marketing sponsors, see if you want to get involved with HB. And we look forward to seeing you next time. All right, Chuck.
See ya.
See ya.